Hello. So I really wanted to make a video for everyone who pitched in money to help Freya through her surgery, and I really hate being on camera, so I thought maybe I could do it while I was driving, and that might distract me from the actual video camera. So I'm just going to pretend like I'm talking to each one of you, and so on Wednesday, we took Freya for her surgery. Wednesday, March 6th, we took Freya to the vet for her surgery. And she had what ended up to be 2 liver shunts instead of 1. And the doctor, the surgeon, he repaired them using cellophane bands, which is just a different technique than what we had originally thought he was going to use. I think they're called amyloid constrictors. Basically, they're pieces of metal with like a cellulose, I think, in the middle that when you put it around the vessel, it gradually will close over time, like, say 4 weeks. So with the cellophane bands, basically I think you tie them around the vessel, and like a scarring develops over like a 6-week period, so it's a little bit longer of a process, but when you have 2 vessels like that, you really need the longer time, especially with a very small animal like a Chihuahua. So she made it through surgery fine. I mean, he sounded hopeful when he called me. We were excited to go pick her up and take her to the overnight animal hospital for continued observation and ICU care if needed. So Doug and I went to pick her up, and the doctor had told me, don't be surprised if when you get here she's severely sedated. I'm like, okay. As a recovery room nurse, that was a little bit upsetting to me, just because we would never send a patient anywhere in a private vehicle that was severely sedated. So we went and got her, and the vet tech brought her out, and she was just like a wet noodle. I mean, not completely sedated, but pretty much, pretty darn close. So I held her kind of like a baby on the way home, and I talked to her, and for the most part, she didn't really do much. But then when I started, hey girl, just really talking to her, she would open her eyes a little bit and kind of look at me and try to move around just a little bit. And I was counting her respirations, and I felt her heartbeat and everything, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm just being paranoid. She's good, I don't know about animals, and they do things differently than we do with humans. In my mind, I'm thinking, oh, she can't protect her airway. I mean, that's what we would say with a human. We would never do that. But anyway, so I had to go to work that night. So Doug dropped me off at home. I mean, just like a super quick, like literal leave the car running, drop me off, get her medications to take to the vet, and out. Then he takes her to the emergency vet, and it was probably 10 minutes away. I mean, not anything that, not anything remarkable, okay? So she was in the little carrier beside him during that time, and he arrives at the emergency vet, and basically after about an hour of them taking her back to the back and him sitting in a room wondering what was going on, they come back out and tell him that when she arrived there, she had, and they barely could detect it, an almost undetectable pulse. Her blood sugar would not even register on the monitor. And, hold on, I'm trying to merge, it's raining. She was very hypotensive, you know, and she was hypothermic. Now, she was hypothermic during surgery, so I thought they had resolved that. When I got to the office, they basically said, oh yeah, we've been passing her around, everybody's been taking turns holding her, and she's so cute, and blah, 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 and they were talking about how, you know, I mean, she didn't sound like any kind of intensive care case. And I mean, I'd even questioned the doctor several times. I'm like, okay, so I'm going to take her in my vehicle, you know, to the emergency vet. Oh yeah, you know, like this was all supposed to be very routine. So, sorry, I'm trying to remember where I'm going here. I have to go to the UPS store. Sold something on Facebook to a girl that I was supposed to have mailed 2 days ago, but because of all this, she still has not received her item. So, okay. So he calls me and he's like, you know, rather than the, you know, small deposit that they wanted initially to keep her overnight, they want $1,200 right now, and they're saying it's going to be overnight, at least 2 nights, not overnight, it's going to be overnight anyway, it's going to be at least 2 nights, if not more, and they hope that they can, you know, save her. Like, what in the world? I mean, I was literally getting ready to walk out the door and go to work. I mean, I was just blindsided. I mean, this was crazy. It wasn't anything like, it wasn't going like we, you know, had thought that it was going to go. So we get, so Doug gets home. I told him just pay it, you know. So we get home, he gets home, and I have to almost immediately take off for work because, you know, I was in charge that night, and, you know, there wasn't really an alternative. I had to go. And so I go to work, and I'm just crying the whole way, calling my mom. She's just a lifesaver. She, you know, helped me out so much with everything, especially, you know, the surgery, getting everything, or not the surgery, but the aftercare, getting everything arranged and paid for and stuff. And so, you know, I owe her big time for that. But still, we thought, okay, you know, she's had a rough time, but she's gonna pull through. Like, I never didn't think she wasn't gonna pull through. I mean, I just thought, oh, well, maybe they just didn't understand what a serious surgery this was, or I don't know. I guess I was just kind of fooling myself in a way, because when you're that close to it, even if you have medical knowledge, when you are that close to something, a person, an animal, whatever, it's almost like it just doesn't register for you. You know, it just doesn't, you don't see things the same. It's hard to put on your nurse hat when it's your family member or your animal. So throughout the night, I would call repeatedly, like at least every 2 or 3 hours, and that was making myself hold out that long, and check on her. Well, it was just an hour-to-hour thing, like 1 hour, or 1 hour we would get, oh, well, she's basically, you need to prepare yourself, she's probably not going to make it. The next hour I would get, oh, well, her blood pressure's coming up a little bit, she's, doing a little bit better, and You know, we just don't know how this is going to go. So I'm just confused. Whoops. I'm just confused and upset, and sorry, I have to park this big thing. I'm just confused and upset and not really knowing what to think, to be honest. And okay, so that next morning, she had still survived by then. I said, if she still survived by morning, I'm going to go see her. So she lived throughout the night, and I decided I'm going to go, and I'm just going to go just me, because I didn't want the kids to be terribly upset. And so that's what I did. So I went down there, and they had started pressors like midway through the night on her, which are medications to keep, like IV medications to keep your blood pressure up. And I'm like, okay, I know with people, like sometimes you have to do that for a while and get them over the hump, and then you know, they can be okay. And I mean, I really didn't know like the whole mechanism behind why is she like this, like, you know, which came first, the chicken or the egg? I didn't know. I mean, there's just so many little intricacies to it, you know. Obviously, her body had gone through a state of shock, you know, but I didn't know if that was our whole deal, or if it was something else, if something had gone wrong with surgery, or what. And really, I still don't know, but I feel like maybe instead of closing gradually over time, I think that maybe everything closed up a lot quicker. I think that it basically just shunted that blood back through the liver, which her liver was very, very, very small. So it was not capable of handling that amount of, I mean, it's just not capable of handling it. It's supposed to be a gradual process. And so that causes portal hypertension, okay? And basically, to make a long story short, that portal hypertension can actually cause, you know, systemic hypotension, and it can also cause seizures, which she ended up developing later on in the night. And it can cause, let's see here, what else? Several of the symptoms that she had. I'm just, like, honestly, my brain is still, I'm just still reeling from the whole thing. So I think that's what happened. I think the surgery itself was successful, but then in the after surgery period, I think it just didn't take. Like, I think that it was just too much for her little body, and I think that that's what killed her. So, to make a long story short, she lived 2 nights there. And then early Friday morning, the kids had been called off of school for snow, thank goodness, because we would not have been able to function. And guys, I know this is a dog, but I mean, it was a big deal, you know. It's like our little family member. So they weren't gonna go to school anyway, but thank goodness they had called them off school. So then that next day, that next morning, they called me at 4 o'clock in the morning, and they said, you know, we're sorry, she stopped breathing, and then her heart stopped beating. And I had told them, you know, to make her a DNR, because with talking to the doctors there, the emergency vet, they said that you know, with people, we have a pretty good success rate. I mean, depending on the cause, but you know, there's a good chance if you run a code on somebody that you'll get a pulse back, and at least for a while that you'll get them back. But they said with animals, it's just not the same. And they said it was only like, I think she said like 4% chance or something. I don't know if those are official numbers or if they were just, you know, trying to give me something. But so yeah, so that's what happened. She died, and we're just completely heartbroken. But we really are appreciative of everyone that, took the time and the money out of their own pockets to help us. And it really, really sucks that, not only did your dog die, but you have to pay, thousands of dollars for your dog to have died. And I just, I second guess myself. I think that essentially it was, kind of my fault. Maybe I didn't choose wisely. I don't know. I mean, but, you can't go back once you make that decision. That's the one you have to live with, so. Sorry, I'm just, I've had to wait a while to even make this because I haven't been able to not, to really talk about it and not get upset. And my eyes are super puffy. I'm sure you can tell. More black under them than usual. So anyway, just, from my family, thank you very much. And thanks to everyone who, even the people who didn't donate money, which I don't expect people to really do that. I just kind of threw that out there as, maybe if we could alleviate any of the cost of this, it would be good. But I really appreciate everyone who sent me kind messages and was there for me, especially my friends at work. My friend Lisette, who basically, did my job that night. I mean, I just have really wonderful friends, and my work friends are like family to me. So, sorry for tearing up, but if you've ever had a pet that you loved and that you lost unexpectedly, especially unexpectedly, I mean, there's never really a time when you're ready for it, but I mean, she was not even 2 years old, so I'm sure that you can understand. But thanks, guys. Have a good day.